Kia ora, nau mai haere mai ki tēnei kōrero tere tere ki tēnei kōrero e tata ana I te ahi. Welcome everyone to this fireside chat. We have in the room with us Evan Wilson and Stephen Ponsford, both from Qrious. I'm going to stop and let them introduce themselves. I don't want to take that privilege, but we're here to talk about an amazing initiative that Qrious has on board around promoting and supporting our Maori and Pasifika in the field of data and analytics and artificial intelligence. I am Megan Tapsell, he urio no Te Aroa, me Ngāti Raukua ki te Tonga. So I hail from Te Aroa land and down from Otaki Way, and I am the chair of the Artificial Intelligence Forum of New Zealand. So no mai, haere mai, piki mai, it's great to have you both in the room. So first, Stephen, I'll just hand over to you. It'd be great to hear from you, your role at Qrious and some of your inspirations about this scholarship that you've got underway.
Yeah, kia ora, Megan, and thanks for having us on. Really good to have you on this Friday afternoon. So, I look after the team at Qrious as Chief Executive, having been with the company now for 5 years, previously in the Chief Technology Officer role. So that's been really good to come through the technology side of the business and now be leading it. I'll let Evan elaborate a little bit, but however, one of the things that we talk a lot about at Qrious is how can we use Qrious as a platform for impact, for our customers and some of the insanely cool work we do with the likes of Zespri, Department of Conservation, New Zealand Cricket even, but for our people and for our industry. And what we're really excited about is, as we're seeing an explosion in data-driven innovation with our customers and in the industry, how can we start to build pathways that build equitable opportunities for all of New Zealand? So that's a lot of the thinking and a lot of the passion behind it. However, I'll hand over to my colleague Evan Wilson, who's been leading this program out for us and is really the visionary behind it.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Evan Wilson toku ingoa. My role is Head of Innovation and Advisory at Qrious, and there's two really different parts of that, right? So one is the innovation part, and then the advisory part. So the innovation piece looks at how we innovate with and on behalf of our customers, and how we innovate as a business to stay relevant in the market, both now and in the future. And we see this this opportunity in front of us to grow a more inclusive and diverse talent pool and therefore workforce is a real strategic opportunity for us and also the entire industry, right? If I think if the tech industry wants to remain relevant going forward, then it's important, really important that we're inclusive. And then finally, the advisory part of my role looks at how can we help clients draw out roadmaps that look at their people, their processes, and their technology to create really meaningful change in an increasingly digital world.
Excellent. Well, again, so welcome. That's really inspirational, and you're 100% right. We're in Aotearoa. Aotearoa is made up of our beautiful Indigenous Māori people, and it's really important that we as organisations own this obligation, and that's how I see it, an obligation to really make a difference and drive those opportunities for our Māori, Pasifika and our females, or those from the demographic which struggle a little bit more, particularly in our science and our technology space. I actually just looked at a few stats earlier just to get myself up to speed. Our Māori population has grown actually. When we've gone, as of June 30th, we're now at 17.4%, up from just 15% a few years ago. And, some of the drivers behind that increase can be net migration, but we've got this place at the moment in Aotearoa where identifying as Māori is we're much more prouder or more aware of our whakapapa and our history maybe than we were before. And so that's a great thing that there's more of us out there and there's more of us involved in connecting back to our people. But we do have a problem, and the problem is in that technology space. And we know that as an industry, technology industry, only 4% of us are Māori, 2.8% of us are Pacific, and we've got 27% women But coming up through the pipeline, the numbers are slightly higher, but there's still more work to do. And this is really where you've targeted this scholarship. So it'd be really great to understand your thoughts behind this scholarship and how you landed on what you've done.
Yeah, look, I'll take that one. You talk about those numbers, Megan, and we have a view of the pipeline. If we look at our partners, Samoa Tech are a fantastic vehicle for providing opportunities to young people across tertiary organisations in New Zealand and providing pathways into tech. If we look at their stats, the proportion of Maori who are in the Summer of Tech platform of 2,500 students is only 2.5%. So in fact, I think the pipeline's getting worse. And if we do nothing about it, if we're not proactive, then we will end up in a world where we've got really fast growing portions of our society who are not participating in the fastest growing and most prosperous, we'll cut that one out. We might have portions of the population who are not in the fastest growing, most prosperous industry. And that I think will lead to even more inequity. And we've already been in a world where we're seeing the bad sides of inequity. So we feel that we need to be really productive and proactive. But also, we're seeing a tech industry that is more and more of a team sport. And we've got a lot of really, really smart people in the industry. But what we're seeing more is a greater demand for people who've got great communication skills, great collaboration skills, and have just a natural empathy for the customers and the solutions that they're building. And we find that those skills exist naturally in these parts of the population who are underrepresented in tech. So that is our wahine, our females, Maori and Pacific people are naturally great communicators, collaborators, storytellers, have a lot of natural empathy. So we just think there's this great opportunity to unleash that talent on the tech industry, and we'll end up as an industry benefiting from that inclusion, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because they've got incredibly valuable skills that can add to the fantastic talent that we've already got in the industry.
Yeah, and not just the industry. I think Aotearoa generally will benefit from the inclusion. When we look at the way we want to design for inclusion, we need to have more. Need to have more of those underrepresented voices at the table, and the only way we can do that is if we support them in getting there. And financial stress, actually, so I'm going to say that again. So financial stress is one of those things that is a preventative, and that's the beautiful thing around this scholarship. You're actually facing into really what the heart of the matter is for some of this, our underrepresented communities, to be involved at the table. You're right. Natural ways of thinking, collaborating, they're all part of tech. I think one of the challenges I certainly observe is that we define tech just as a data scientist or just as the software coder, but there's so many more elements that wrap around it and make it successful. And some of those skills that we learn on the marae, so just for example, just being in the kitchen, when you're dealing with your aunties or your cousins and you're taking more of a leadership role, they're all valuable skills that overlay back into the workplace, a bit like a mum at home. Just being a mum, organising your household, there's still skills that overlay into the workplace. So the scholarship is fantastic. There's other this scholarship is fantastic, and actually just focusing on that, can you just give our audience a little bit of insight into what you're offering through the scholarship itself?
Yeah, we've got an overall program. So it's we think there's multiple ways we need to provide opportunity to a more diverse workforce. So we've got a program, we call it Puawai, which means to blossom. And that program, there's a number of elements to the program. So one element is our intern program, where we offer, there's about 12 positions at any point in time. And so that is for people who are coming out of education and looking for that first opportunity. And then it graduates up from there. So there are scholarships, and actually they're more probably, they're not scholarships because we're not providing sort of training. We're providing opportunities pathways for people to come into our organisations where we pay them, and we pay them pretty well, at least $60,000 a year. And in the time they're with us, they go through structured learning on all of the latest technology that we see being adopted in the industry. And then from there, there's also full-time roles, right? So we bring people into our organisation and wrap around, the same level of support that we offer to the interns and to our Pathway Academy people, where we're teaching them what are some of the emerging and most used pieces of technology in the industry, but B, how to use them, how to be a great consultant and a leader within the industry.
Excellent. Stephen, one of the big challenges for organisations is buying into this need to have more of our Māori and Pasifika at the table. As the Chief Executive, how did the story come to you, and how was your leadership table around supporting it?
I think it's really interesting, and I'll sort of talk about that in two parts. If we think about the Institute of Directors annual report, number one strategic challenge facing businesses today, talent. If we look at the recent executive report coming out of the business conference reporting, talent, again, number one. And as an organisation, the first thing we actually did was we said, well, do we actually have a supply problem, or do we have an opportunity problem? And all of the answers were, how can we get more people overseas to come into our borders? How can we get ahead of those kind of waves of migration that we hope would come back? And it was really interesting. And again, it was speaking with Evan, we kind of realised the answer was within our own borders. And it was an opportunity to source incredibly skilled talent, to bring diversity into. And remember, we build things like data models. We want diversity in the thinkers that we have in our business. But it was an opportunity to really make a huge community difference, and see our partners and customers actually want to partner even more with us because we were trying to make that impact. So I can't underline for other technology companies and business leaders, this is a very symbiotic thing to be doing. You're getting an incredible well of talent. You're solving some great societal challenges around diversity in New Zealand, and you're raising your profile, and I would say your mana in this space with other New Zealand organisations for having done it. Evan again led through the intern program, and I'll definitely have to signal that my daughter being of Ngāi Tahu and my now granddaughter also being of Ngāi Tahu descent, me on a personal level, I thought, well, I don't want an industry where my own children and their children are not seen as representative in that industry. So I'm very lucky my daughter Isabella has followed me into the industry already, but I'd love to support that. So from a business level, it just makes sense. If you look at all the strategic challenges we're facing, if you look at the type of opportunities that we're developing, governance systems and others, it just, again, makes sense. And ultimately, it's a great thing to do for an organisation, because everybody now is asking, how can we help? How can we support that? We don't want to be the only company in town doing this. We want to kind of offer an obvious pathway for other organisations to follow us and help support what we're doing. But yeah, it's been I would dare say this has been one of the easier strategic objectives to get the leadership team aligned on, because it's just got so many good hallmarks that they've all wanted to be part of.
Oh, no, we're excellent. You don't look old enough to be a grandfather. Just putting that
Thank you. I certainly feel it. So there you go.
You picked up on a really good point there, though. And one was around, I think, having the people at the table to ensure that as we design from an ethics perspective, we're getting it right. And for anyone who's heard me speak before, this is my line I repeat often. The irony is not lost on me that when we talk about artificial intelligence or the role of artificial intelligence, all of a sudden we're concerned about ethics. We're actually, for decades, we've been designing with our ethics behind it. But the great thing is that we are now taking more of an interest, and so the applications of ethics and design shouldn't just be for artificial intelligence, it should be across our whole code base. So anyway, that's just one of my little things that I just go on about. But Just on that point though, Stephen, because even in where I work, so in my day job, I'm head of Pacific Technology for ANZ, and I love it. I love working with our Pacific people and trying to create opportunities, and it's a really good, strong organisation to work for. And then one of the other things I do within our technology division, I've got a Māori and Pacific group, and we focus on our strategy around how we create inclusion in the workplace, because one of the challenges is we can create pathways for Māori and Pacific to come in, but
Yes.
if we don't change the environment, if we're still bringing this Western construct of thinking, it's not necessarily a safe place for them to move into. Is Qrious thinking around how your current environment is changing to ensure that longevity of these kids or these yes. Māori that you bring indoors?
Absolutely. And if you're asking about the environment, I think that was, really important. Our job as leaders is to create an environment where our people can thrive. And as we're bringing more younger people into organisation, people with different backgrounds, we're really having to rethink about how we create that environment that people continue to thrive in. It's everything from behaviours in the office to language used to how we might construct a social event where a lot more younger people of different demographics are now being shown what our industry is about. So it is absolutely something that you go, we want to make a change, you create that change, and all of a sudden you're looking at a very different demographic of your staff, and you're saying, so how do we continue to build that environment? I can't remember the exact report, Evan, but there was a really great report that was released on, I think it was Auckland City-led report on how to create an environment for tangata whenua, specifically, I believe it was, to thrive in the work environment. And there was just so many aspects I don't even think we had started to consider. And that's what I like, is that we're learning as we go. Yes, we might make mistakes as we go, but we're going to have to think ahead of all of these various challenges that happen. But there's a really interesting benefit of all of this. Our offices having the recent intake of 25, 30 young people, diverse backgrounds, it's just changed the whole culture and vibe and feeling in the office. We've all come back to the offices in the last few months and getting used to that. I tell you what, you don't want to stay at home anymore, because you really want to come and see all the cool new faces that are around. So yes, we have to think about it, but it is, again, for business leaders out there, it's a wonderful way to give your culture a real shot in the arm, just by bringing these awesome, dynamic and very driven people into your business.
Excellent. So, Stephen, you just mentioned that report. Evan, we've just had a little bit of a conversation about it. Are you able to tell us a little bit more about the report, Te Ao Hangaro?
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
So just last week, I think it was, there's a fantastic report released by Tech Tamaki Makaurau called Te Ao Hangaro, and that looks at, there's not a lot of research into what are the barriers for increased Māori participation in the tech sector. And I encourage people looking at this to read the report to address the barriers, but it also gives tips on how organisations can be. What was that? Was that a timer?
It was a message that's coming on something. Sorry, thought I'd turned it off.
Okay, we'll go back to it. And the report also provides really tangible ways that organisations can provide really inviting environments where people from diverse backgrounds can come in and succeed.
Excellent. So that's something for our audience to really pick up on. Is there anything else that you'd like to cover off here, Stephen, from a Qrious perspective?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of a challenge to the industry is really, when we look at the current approach, the current plans, they're talking about 2040. That means that our children and grandchildren will still be talking about the requirements for equity programs of our industry, right? And to be honest, I'd like them to look back at some of these recordings and say, why on earth did you ever need to have those programs? In other words, we've resolved so many of the challenges. So I really think if you look at, conservatively across health and other government programs, there'll be $5 billion over the next half a decade put into government transformation using technology. You can only expect that number in AI to be probably in the billions over the next decade or so. How can we not set 20, 30, 50-year aspirations and actually say, no, within a single generation, within a decade, we are going to achieve at least population parity with the statistics in our industry? And, it's clear, we'll stick our hand up. We're going to try and do a little bit of mahi ourselves to generate some momentum here, but what could others just do to just get on with this? Stop talking, let's go and make the change. Let's create the industry we want it to be, and let's do it a lot faster than all of the research and policies currently telling us.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you've said there, Stephen. I think as industry leaders, we actually have an obligation. We have an obligation to make a difference. Our society needs to be more inclusive. We need to be thinking around how we design to ensure inclusion. Because we've got broader societal issues that we're facing into, and as the tighter we collaborate, the more we think from that broader mindset around inclusion, the faster we're going to get there where we can make a difference. And this is definitely what Qrious is doing, is one of those ways, and you should be immensely proud of the scholarship and the program that you've put together. Evan, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, look, we released our plans for this to the broader market maybe a couple of weeks ago, and we've been really overwhelmed by the incredible response we've had and the offers of support from people in the industry, whether they are customers, partners, or even competitors. And I think it shows that there's a great realization that we've all got to walk in the same streets. And in 20, 30 years from now, it doesn't matter what hat we have happily wearing at the moment. We're all New Zealanders at the end of the day. So yeah, just encourage everyone, if they want to sort of follow the same path, we're happy to share what we're doing, how we're doing it. But I think that the key thing for people to think about is the fact that I think Stephen mentioned it earlier, there is plenty of talent here. We don't really have a talent shortage, we have an opportunity shortage. And so for organisations who have got those opportunities, just be really proactive about who you bring into those, and open your doors, open your minds as to where those people come from. Because if we all go fishing in the same pool, in the traditional pools, whether it's the current labour market or the universities, we're not going to move the dial in terms of participation rates and equity. So we need to open our minds and go and find people where they are and offer opportunities for them so they can be role models in the future. We need more wahine, more Maori, more Pasifika in the industry so that others look to them and think, heck, if they can do it, I can do it. And we need to create those opportunities right now. So that's what I'd encourage anyone tuning into this who might have a job going to think about that one job can make a difference to an entire family, whānau, community. That can be hundreds of people from just one opportunity.
No, absolutely. And I think the AI Forum itself has started to take a more active role from a governance perspective, because that's largely where we play in the governance and industry space. And we're about to launch our Kāhui Māori Atamai Iahiko. So we're setting up a Maori advisory committee to ensure that we continue to focus on ensuring from an industry perspective, when we look at potential policies or create reports, that we're really embracing the Te Ao Māori perspective, because there's so much richness from an environmental and science perspective, just from a people perspective, from a language perspective, that really makes Aotearoa different. And the more we get organisations like you've shown, like Qrious, adopting and thinking differently and being brave to take the opportunities, the better Aotearoa is going to be. So with that in mind, I'd just like to give you a big ngā mihi. Ngā mihi mō tō mahi I tēnei mahi hangarau. Ngā mihi mō te haerenga pai ki tēnei huarahi mō a tātou rangatahi. So thank you for the work that you've done in this space, and to acknowledge the pathway that you've taken in celebrating our Māori youth and providing those pathways. So thank you.
Megan and the AO Forum, thank you for the opportunity to tell our story and hopefully share the benefits and get people thinking and contributing and paddling in the same waka.
It's a one. He waka eke noa.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.